President Biden in Warsaw pointed to a united NATO alliance and Ukraine's remarkable military performance against Russia's overwhelming forces. Can President Zelensky's military sustain this military pace going forward? Joining us now is NBC's Josh Lederman in Warsaw and NBC's Erin McLaughlin in Kyiv. Hi, Josh. So what do we expect to hear from the president continuing on this trip today? He's just given a speech which reaffirms NATO and pushes back against Putin, and really delivered a huge thank you to Poland for what it is doing.
That's exactly right, Andrea. You know, ahead of this speech, White House officials were suggesting that this was not going to be a direct response to President Vladimir Putin of Russia, who gave his own major speech largely focused on the Ukraine war earlier today. And while I suppose that this was not explicitly a response to Putin, it sure felt like it as President Biden talked about that fight between autocracy and democracy as he cast this as a global fight for freedom. He said the appetite of autocrats cannot be appeased, it must be opposed. And he made clear that it is a key goal and really top priority for him going forward to make sure that that solidarity stays, that these nations do not let up in their support for Ukraine and for the broader effort to ensure a freedom from that type of autocratic reach in the year to come. He said Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia, never. And he also alluded to what we have been discussing quite a bit, those concerns back at home about some Republicans who are starting to balk at continued U.S. support for Ukraine in this war. He tried to cast the level of support in the U.S. for this as significant and bipartisan, sort of glossing over some of those differences there. But he also made a little bit of news announcing that next year the United States will host a NATO summit with all of the members of the alliance as it marks the 75th anniversary of the NATO alliance. And moving forward, Andrea, the president, as he wraps up his trip here to Poland tomorrow, will have an opportunity to meet with the Bucharest Nine, the group of NATO nations that are right on the eastern flank, right on Russia's doorstep. That will be a final opportunity for President Biden to try to cast this fight in Ukraine that all of these Western nations are supporting as something that is broader than Ukraine, that this is a fight that the Ukrainians, with the help of the West, are fighting so that the rest of the nations don't have to fight it in their own territory, including those NATO nations who, if dragged into a conflict with Russia, would mean the U.S. would end up in a direct conflict with Russia because of those Article 5 NATO commitments. The president making that argument as he stood at the same spot where last year in March he gave a speech that he said came at a time when there were real questions about the NATO alliance, about its staying power, about whether it was up to the challenge that was posed by Russia's invasion in Ukraine. Today, President Biden saying that any of those questions about NATO have now been answered.